But one of the sickest ones that we're seeing now is we have a ton of people coming in from Russia and the Romania and some of the Eastern European countries. And they're flying into Brazil, and then they're flying to Cancun and spending a few days in Cancun. And then they're going to Tijuana and rushing the border. So I had a CBP agent call me and say, you got to come check this out. And they're rushing the border. As soon as they get across the border, they throw their hands up in the air and they say, asylum, asylum. And they're going through these people's phones. And a day before, there's girls, they're out on the beach in their bikinis in Cancun as a vacation. And now they're coming across our border because they know you could just simply walk in. I mean, it's insane. I'm telling you, you go from the heartbreaking, the tragedy of these children being raped and women being raped along the way and what's going on there, to just the utter disregard for the rule of law and the total undermining of our system.
It seems like this is all by design. And so many people would say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. But then when you talk to Ben, who's literally on the border, he is talking with the locals. He's talking with the Border Patrol. I mean, you even have videos where you are filming the illegal immigrants in line waiting to come. And one thing that you said on one of your videos that was that the cartels would send a lot of sick people to a specific area where the Border Patrol would have to tend to them because they're sick and they want to take care of them, while they're using sick and weak and broken people that are as a distraction to the Border Control, while they can bring drugs and bring other illegal immigrants across the border. This is what's happening. The cartel is basically running our border because the Biden regime is just doing nothing.
That's exactly right. So the cartels control every mile of border along the southern side of the border and much of it along the northern side. They've taken over cities in America. So you go to Calexico, and right on the other side of the wall in Calexico are houses lined along the wall. And I talked to Border Patrol and I said, which one of those? I'd love to do a story on which one of these houses are cartel houses, which ones, how much of this community has been taken over by the cartel. And he looked at me and he said, point at any house. He said, you can basically assume that house is owned by the cartels. The cartels own it all and they control it all. And all we are doing is making their jobs easier. So the Biden policy of allowing these people to come in and claim false asylum, we know the vast majority of them won't qualify. The vast majority of them won't even show up at their hearings. The courts are backlogged 5 and 6 years out. And that's right. That was a couple months ago. They'll be 10 years out by the end of this year, or we'll just simply stop hearing them. And that's what the Democrats want. They just want to allow mass amnesty. And it's not 11 million people. It's right now we're somewhere between 30 and 50 million people in our country illegally. We just don't even know because they're not tracking it. With the number of 11 million, we're talking about from the year 2000. We're 21 years later, and on average, every single year since then, it's been somewhere between 1 and 5 million people have crossed illegally. It's all controlled by the cartels. And so what they do is they will use these large groups, like we saw in Del Rio. They push all of these so-called Haitians, and that's one of the other lies. It wasn't a bunch of Haitians. These are people that had been living in Brazil and Chile for 4 and 5 and 6 years. They had children that they were bringing up that had Chilean citizenship and Brazilian citizenship, but they got the word, and we interviewed them. Why are you coming now? And they said, because Joe Biden said we can come now. That's why they were coming. And they use these. They use the people under the bridge and all of that lie about Border Patrol whipping them. They use these people to rush the border. All of Border Patrol resources were funneled there, and everywhere else, an hour away in a little town called Eagle Pass, which is just southeast of Del Rio. I went down there the next day, and all of the Border Patrol that was there weren't there anymore. And you just had people, wave after wave of people, just walking across the river, walking up. It's about a 200-yard field. They were walking across the field right up into the community. And then you would drive in between these cities, and there are Border Patrol checkpoints to be able to check the vehicles that made it through, or the people that made it through, to check for drugs and to check for potential terrorists, whatever somebody wants to bring in. The checkpoints were closed down. Well, you know who knows that first? It's the cartels. They have scouts everywhere. And so what they do is they will push a large group of people. They know they have their scouts checking the Border Patrol stations. They have the scouts checking along the border. And as soon as those areas open up, that's when they push their drugs. That's when they push their fentanyl. That's when they push their sex slaves that they're sending into sex trafficking in America. And all the former deportees, the people that are paying extra to get across that don't want to get caught. It's all orchestrated.